Across the frozen winter wasteland, he wanders. The Elk Knight. And I'm going to show you how I made this guy using some of this stuff right here. Hey, welcome to the channel. I'm Jay, and this is the very first video on the channel, so thank you for clicking on it. It really does mean a lot to me that you would choose my video when you've got so many other options out there. So since this is the very first video on the channel, we haven't really built a rapport yet. I'm just going to go ahead and get right to the video, and I'll see you later. So when I was growing up, my family had this Hero Quest game. It had all these little miniatures, like this elf. I really liked all the little miniatures in the game, and so I wanted to try to make basically my own miniature like that. So I got a good price on these Canadian soldiers at the bargain basket in town. Thought they looked useful. Figured I'd pick them up. But I needed something else, so why not zoo animals? Alright. And so I decided on this guy. I figured I would replace the grenade with a sword. And of course we're going to replace his head with the elk's head. I mean, of course, meaning you clicked on the video, you saw the intro, so you already know. I sketched this guy up just to give you an idea of what it might look like. Doesn't really end up looking like that. And so the next thing you're going to do is get all them tools out. So let's get it started. We're gonna have to cut his head off. There we go. Nice looking body. We'll clean that up. Now we're gonna have to take his off. I'll spare you most of the gory scene here. There we go. So now we've got this head, and looks like a nice looking head. We're gonna stick that on that body there. Well, yeah, maybe at that angle, so he's looking off that way. And I've got this piece of plastic here that I'm gonna use. You'll see what that's for. For now, we'll just tidy this up here, and we're gonna tidy this up. It's for the armor and the shield. That's what the plastic's for. But anyway, yeah, now these are looking a little bit better. We're gonna go ahead and grab our baking soda and our Gorilla Glue. That's what's gonna get us a good bond. I like to use the super glue gel. It's just easier to manage for me. Of course, you use whatever works for you. And so we're gonna stick it on there. And you hold it there for a while, reinforce with some more super glue and baking soda, like so. And then we gotta cut off that grenade to make room for the sword. Looking pretty good so far though. Pretty much what I had in mind at this point. So yeah, let's clean that up a little bit more. Yeah, I think he's about ready for his suit of armor, so let's get that piece of plastic out. I actually spend a lot of time on the suit of armor, but it doesn't really work out. In the end, I end up covering up all of this work, but I'm not going to let it go to waste. Even if you don't see it in the end product, you can check it out here. And the armor on his boots and his sides, though, that's a little different. That is in the end product, as you'll see. But now for the sword. We're going to use a toothpick. Going to measure it up there. I wanted him to have a big sword, hopefully not cartoonishly large, and I'm pretty satisfied with the end result. Still, there are some things that I would do differently with the sword the next time around. And the next time around, I would wear gloves. And I recommend that you wear gloves. This stuff was stuck to my hands for at least a week, so kind of a pain. But anyways, another thing that I would change would be using a different plastic. I found it much more difficult than anticipated trying to use clear plastic and clear glue at the same time, so definitely some opaque plastic next time. But it looks like I've got a good looking shield there, so I bend it down the middle and seal the deal with some glue and baking soda, which I also use here to make the cross guard and pommel of the sword. And after a little bit more work, we end up with a nice looking dude. Alright. A little bit of primer always helps pull it all together. Now we're going to take a little ad break, so just sit tight. Funding for this program was provided by nobody. But thank you for watching. And if viewers like you want to contribute to the channel, then I would really appreciate if you'd hit the like button or subscribe, hit the notification bell if you do subscribe, or check out any of the Lo-Fi Workshop links down below to check me out in other places.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
Alright, so there's a few things that are pretty ugly on the chest and the back of this guy here. So I'm going to use some air dry clay, which you'll see in a second here, and I'm going to use that to flesh out the sword and the shield and to give him a nice fancy fur collar. And this part's a little awkward, so I'll just... yeah. Now, okay, looking better now that it's flattened out and getting cut and shaped. And with a little more effort, we get ourselves a nice looking sword blade. So we take this little wormy dealy, or whatever you call it, and we wrap it around his neck there, and we're gonna give him a little, kind of like a jewel. And then we texture it up there, just poking this tool into the clay to simulate that fur texture. And this is where we end up. At this point, I was pretty optimistic with the way things were looking. The clay had added a lot to it, so I was really happy with that. It was just a matter of coloring things, and so I was a little bit nervous. I've always been much better with pencils and pen and ink, but when I add color, it always gives me a hard time. So I gave it my best shot. You'll hear me talk about it here. Here we go. Another thing I learned in the process of making this guy is that I need to be patient and plan things out a little bit better and hit this thing with primer one more time before I get to painting. And speaking of the paint, I'll give you a quick rundown on the color scheme here. So the reason he's got this blue-white fur color is that he lives in an Arctic type environment, so he's always in the snow. It's kind of an evolutionary camouflage for him. And then the outfit that he's wearing is based on natural colors. It's kind of earth tones. He's got the brown tunic. I made it a little bit of a reddish tone, inspired by Mounties actually. And then the green pants, also earthy, for that northern woodsman vibe. All of the paints that I'm using in the video are cheap acrylic paints that I got at hobby stores, with the exception of the silver, and there's a crystal there that I'm going to color in later. The silver is actually, I believe, a tempera paint, and I'm not really sure what the color change color is that I use for the crystals, but we can take a look when that pops up. And as I mentioned before, this is fur, or meant to be fur. And that's why I'm going with this light yellowy tan color there. Now I do several passes over the shield and the sword and the armor plates. I believe that's finally there with the silver, the final color there. I start the shield with this purple I later cover that with brown to make it look more just like wood. The purple was just too many colors. And there's the crystal. The first attempt at the crystal, I just colored it in silver. It didn't do enough for me. I wanted to have more of a mystical quality to him, so that's why I ended up going back and doing the crystal again with a different color. The metal on the sword was just giving me a lot of trouble. I was originally going for something that I saw in a video, I think it was maybe by CC Middies, but I ended up scrapping that and just going with a solid metal color. I painted the base gray, and then we get to dry brush. This really is where a lot of the detail comes out. I wish I was a little bit better at it. This is the first project that I really tried this on, so I'm really happy with how it came out, but I also learned a lot in the process. And then we gotta give him some eyes, of course. And would you look at that, it turns out it is acrylic paint after all. So we paint up that crystal, we dry brush a little bit more, and we're getting close to done here, guys. Next step is this oil wash. Now, I didn't really know what I was doing with the oil wash, and so this is a pretty bad oil wash. I used black oil paint, and I believe a synthetic turpentine to thin it, turpin oil. Either way, maybe I just didn't get the mixture right, but I'm still happy with how it turned out for a first try, so can't complain too much. Alright, so he's done. Here he is. I'll show you the final shots in just a second, but first I just wanted to say thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you could do any of the things down below, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, it would mean a lot to a brand new channel like mine, and it would really help me grow. So I'm going to go ahead and give you an extra treat here. I'm going to give you a preview of the next episode.
Who's that Pokemon?
Well, not a Pokemon really, but, well, okay, you get the idea. So let's go ahead and get to that sweet reveal, guys. What do you say? Thanks again for tuning in. If you have any ideas for future videos, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'll see you next time.